It Chapter 2 is long and pretty disappointing. I haven't read the book, but I did see the original miniseries. Initial problem with this movie is that it has a lot of parts that are bad, and then a little bit of parts that are good. Now, getting into that, this movie tries to be two things at once. It tries to be the jump scare fest that every horror movie is nowadays, and then you have something with actual character development and relationships. These scares make no sense at all, and a lot of them don't even revolve around the plot. It's just like, ooh, it's a scary thing, jump out of your seat for like half a second. In scenes, it just gives characters nothing to do. I think James McAvoy's performance was pretty good. His character was given something to do. I mean, you'd see that James still cared about the role and tried to make Bill realistic, or at least have some character motivation. Bill Hardy's character, Richie, I thought was pretty good. It also helps that he was given something to do. He was just kind of like the guy that was with the audience and was like, nope, don't really want to deal with this right now, let's get out of here, sort of deal. And his character was just fun to watch. Beverly, her character was just left to scream and cry. And then Ed, he isn't bad. I like the character interactions he has with Richie. And then Mike's character, I think, was handled really poorly, because in the miniseries he's still like a rational human being, but in this movie he's a moron and a crazy person. He tries to get them to believe a plan that doesn't work and is basically a suicide mission, but Mike doesn't believe it's a suicide mission because it's like, oh, if you just believe in it hard enough, it won't be a suicide mission. It's just disappointing to see how it could have been a good horror movie and try to like maintain things for a story aspect, but it really just like went headfirst into this jump scare territory. This movie is really just a whole lot of filler with some kind-hearted moments in between. It has 20 minutes of information of characters we don't know, of jarring editing cuts of Derry that we've probably already seen before, and then we have all these trials that the characters go through to like remember everything that happens. And the reason why this doesn't work is because in the miniseries, I believe they were just walking around town trying to decide whether or not they were going to fight Pennywise or not. And then Pennywise comes and meets them and tries to intimidate them and scare them and remind them of all the scary things he did so that he could feast upon their souls. But in this one, it's like the flashbacks and the trials that they go through can't really harm them. So the tension is just completely lost throughout all of this. And it really takes up a big chunk of the movie. And by the time all their talismans, tokens, whatever, were obtained, the movie's almost over. And you get to this fight scene with Pennywise at the end, where it's running around aimlessly trying to figure out what to do because Mike is such an idiot and just sent them down there with no weapons, no backup plan or anything. Standing on its own, I think these two films work fine together. I think the relationships are demonstrated a lot better in Chapter 2 than in Chapter 1. I think the ending is a bit stupid and Stanley's motivations are confusing to say the least. And then comparing these two films to the miniseries, Stanley's death was very poorly managed. The characters work better in some cases, but are less cohesive than the miniseries overall. And the scares are just over the top, don't make sense, are overkill, and the ending is very dumb.